63 seconds. The silence in that hearing room lasted exactly 63 seconds. And if you think that does not sound like a long time, try it right now. Sit still, say nothing, and count to 63 while an entire nation watches your face on live television. While cameras zoom in on the sweat forming along your hairline. While Jamie Raskin, who just asked you a question, leans back in his chair, folds his hands, and waits. He is in no rush. Because he knows something you desperately wish he did not. That is what happened on that day. And by the time those 63 seconds were over, Kash Patel's credibility, and every carefully constructed wall he had built around himself had already begun to crack. Let us go back to the beginning. Not the beginning of the hearing. The beginning of the strategy. Because what Jamie Raskin did that day was not improvisation. It was a surgical operation planned for weeks, maybe months, and Kash Patel walked into it like a man who had no idea the floor beneath him was made of glass. The hearing had been called to address serious concerns regarding the handling of classified intelligence materials and the potential misuse of institutional authority for personal and political purposes. Kash Patel had been asked to appear voluntarily. His legal team had negotiated the terms. He would give an opening statement. He would answer questions. He would leave. Simple. Routine. At least, that is what they believed. Kash Patel arrived that morning looking composed. His suit was pressed. His tie was straight. He carried a leather folder with prepared remarks and sat down behind the microphone with the kind of calm that comes from having done this before. He had testified in front of committees. He had survived political crossfire. He believed he could do it again. His opening statement lasted roughly 12 minutes. He spoke about his commitment to national security. He referenced his years of service. He used words like integrity, transparency, and accountability. He looked directly into the cameras when he said them. And when he finished, he took a sip of water and nodded slightly, as if to say, "Your turn." The first few rounds of questioning were predictable. Members of the committee asked broad questions about policy and budget allocations. Kash Patel answered them smoothly. He quoted statistics. He deflected when he needed to and elaborated when it served him. For the first 45 minutes, he was in complete control. He even allowed himself a small, almost invisible smile after one particularly well-delivered answer. The kind of smile that says, "I have done this 100 times and I will do it 100 more." And then Jamie Raskin's turn came. He did not begin with a question. He began with a date. March 14th, he said. Just the date. Nothing else. He let it hang in the air like smoke. Kash Patel blinked. March 14th of which year, he asked. Jamie Raskin did not answer. Instead, he added a second date. June 22nd. And then a third. September 3rd. He listed them slowly, deliberately, like a man laying bricks. Each date landed with a weight that was almost physical. Kash Patel's eyes moved to his legal counsel sitting behind him. It was a fast glance, barely noticeable. But the cameras caught it, and in that glance you could see the first flicker of doubt. Jamie Raskin then opened a folder. A thin manila folder with maybe 15 pages inside. He held it up and said, "I would like to enter into the record a series of documents obtained through a lawful subpoena issued to a financial institution on January 9th. The documents include wire transfer records, internal routing confirmations, and timestamp metadata from an encrypted communication platform." The committee chairman nodded and the documents were entered. Kash Patel shifted in his seat. His right hand moved to the base of the microphone and stayed there, gripping it lightly. His left hand disappeared beneath the table. Jamie Raskin began with the first document. On March 14th, he said, a wire transfer in the amount of $340,000 was initiated from an offshore account registered in a Caribbean jurisdiction. The receiving account was a domestic shell entity with no employees, no physical address, and no publicly filed tax returns for the previous 3 fiscal years. He paused and stared directly at Kash Patel. Can you tell this committee whether you have any knowledge of that transaction? Kash Patel leaned into the microphone. I am not aware of the specific transaction you are describing, he said. I would need to review the documents in detail before I could comment. Jamie Raskin nodded slowly and moved to the next document. On June 22nd, he continued, a second transfer was made. This time for $215,000. Same originating account. Same offshore jurisdiction. But the receiving entity was different. This one was registered under a trust that, according to state filings, listed a single beneficiary. He stopped. He removed his glasses and set them on the table. Would you like me to tell this committee who the beneficiary of that trust was? Kash Patel did not answer immediately. His jaw tightened. He leaned back from the microphone and said, I would remind Jamie Raskin that I am here voluntarily and that I have a right to consult with counsel before answering questions that may involve privileged or classified information. Jamie Raskin's expression did not change. He said, You absolutely do. Take all the time you need. We are not going anywhere. There was a brief exchange between Kash Patel and his attorney. Whispered words, a hand covering a microphone. The attorney scribbled something on a notepad and slid it forward. Kash Patel read it, paused, and turned back to face the committee. I do not have specific knowledge of the trust you are referencing, he said. Jamie Raskin picked up the third document. September 3rd, he said. This one is different. This is not a wire transfer. This is a communication. An encrypted message sent from a device logged into a network registered to your office. The message was sent at 11:47 p.m. on a Saturday night. The recipient was an individual associated with a foreign consulting firm flagged by 2 separate intelligence agencies for activities inconsistent with legitimate business operations. He read the timestamp again. 11:47 p.m. Saturday. The message contained 4 words, Jamie Raskin said. Just 4 words. Confirm the second deposit. The room did not gasp. That is a myth. Hearing rooms do not gasp. What they do is something worse. They go completely, absolutely, terrifyingly silent. Every pen stops moving. Every phone stops tapping. Every aide freezes. And all eyes move to one person. Kash Patel did not move. He did not blink. He did not reach for his water. He sat perfectly still, hands flat on the table, staring at the microphone as if it had spoken to him in a language he did not understand. Jamie Raskin asked his question. Did you send that message? Nothing. No response. No movement. Kash Patel's chest rose and fell with slow breaths, but his mouth did not open. Jamie Raskin waited. He did not repeat the question. 5 seconds passed. Then 10. Then 20. The clock on the back wall ticked audibly. 30 seconds. 40. A camera shutter clicked somewhere in the press gallery, and the sound was so loud it might as well have been a gunshot. 50 seconds. 60. 63. 63 seconds of absolute, unbroken silence on live television. 63 seconds during which Kash Patel of one of the most powerful institutions in the country sat in front of elected representatives and could not, or would not, answer a single question. When Kash Patel finally spoke, his voice had changed. The confidence was gone. The rehearsed cadence had evaporated. What came out was halting, fragmented, and painfully uncertain. I would need to review the metadata and the sourcing of that document before I could provide a definitive answer, he said. His voice cracked on the word definitive. Not dramatically. Just a small, human fracture in a wall that was supposed to be unbreakable. Jamie Raskin did not smile. He simply said, Let us continue. For the next 90 minutes, Jamie Raskin dismantled Kash Patel piece by piece, document by document. He produced records of deleted files recovered from a backup server. He referenced travel logs showing trips to foreign cities that did not appear on any official itinerary. He presented hotel receipts paid for by entities with no connection to government business. He laid out a timeline stretching across 22 months involving at least 4 financial transactions totaling just under $1.2 million. Each time he presented new evidence, he followed the same pattern. Date. Document. Connection to the previous one. Then a question. Simple, direct, impossible to evade. And each time, Kash Patel's responses grew shorter, vaguer, and more desperate. At one point he began an answer and then stopped mid-sentence, as if his own words had turned against him. He closed his mouth, swallowed hard, and started again with a completely different sentence. The cameras caught every millisecond of it. Social media was already on fire. At one point, Kash Patel tried to question the source of the documents. He suggested some materials might have been obtained improperly. Jamie Raskin listened patiently and said, "Every document I have presented today was obtained through a lawful subpoena approved by a federal judge. The metadata has been verified by 2 independent forensic analysts. If you are suggesting that a federal judge, 2 forensic experts, and this committee are all engaged in a conspiracy against you, I would invite you to say so clearly and for the record." Kash Patel did not say so. He looked down and said nothing. There was a moment when Kash Patel reached for his water glass and his hand was shaking. The kind of shake that comes from the body's recognition that it is trapped. That every exit has been sealed. That the person across from you is not guessing, not bluffing. They know. They have the paper. They have the timestamps. And there is nowhere left to go. Jamie Raskin moved to the deleted files. A forensic recovery had been performed on a server scheduled for decommissioning, yielding over 1,400 files manually deleted within a 72-hour window. Those deletions occurred exactly 6 days after the committee publicly announced its investigation. Not a coincidence. A deliberate destruction of evidence aligned perfectly with the moment Kash Patel learned he was under scrutiny. He asked if Kash Patel had ordered the deletions. Kash Patel said he had no knowledge of any unauthorized file deletions. Jamie Raskin asked if he had been informed. Kash Patel said he could not recall. Jamie Raskin asked if he had spoken with any staff member about the server during that window. Kash Patel paused for 11 seconds and said, "I may have had conversations about routine IT operations, but I do not recall the specifics." Jamie Raskin repeated the phrase. "Routine IT operations." He said it slowly. And then, 1,400 files deleted in 72 hours, 6 days after an investigation is announced, and you are calling that routine IT operations. He did not frame it as a question. He let the absurdity speak for itself. Jamie Raskin moved to his final line of questioning. He referenced a classified memorandum circulated within a small group of senior officials, outlining a proposed operation that would have involved surveillance of domestic political figures without required judicial oversight. The memorandum had been drafted on a specific date, distributed to a specific list of recipients. And at the bottom, in the approval line, there was a single set of initials. He did not reveal the initials. He simply asked, "Were you on the distribution list for this memorandum?" Kash Patel said he could not confirm or deny the existence of classified documents in an open hearing. Jamie Raskin said, "I am not asking about the document. I am asking about the distribution list." "Were you on it?" Kash Patel repeated his answer. Jamie Raskin leaned forward and said, "The distribution list is not classified. The memorandum is classified. The list of people who received it is a matter of administrative record. I will ask you one more time. Were you on the distribution list?" The silence this time lasted only 9 seconds. But those 9 seconds were heavier than the 63 that had come before. Because everyone in that room knew the answer. The only person who could not say it was the man behind the microphone. Kash Patel finally said, "On the advice of counsel, I will decline to answer that question at this time." Jamie Raskin closed his folder. He straightened his papers. He looked up at Kash Patel one final time and said something that was not a question, not an accusation, and not a summary. It was a verdict delivered before the trial was over. The American people are watching. They have seen the documents. They have heard the dates. They have counted the seconds of your silence. And silence, in a room like this, is never empty. It is full of everything you cannot say because saying it would mean admitting what you have done. This committee will continue its work. The evidence will go where the evidence goes. And history will record not just what was said in this room today, but what was not said. And who could not say it. He turned off his microphone. He did not look at Kash Patel again. The hearing continued for another 2 hours, but it did not matter. Other members asked questions. Other exchanges occurred. But the hearing had already ended in those 63 seconds of silence. It ended when a man who had spent his career constructing an image of competence and authority sat in front of the world and could not open his mouth. What does that silence mean? It means that somewhere in the vast machinery of power, someone made decisions that cannot be explained in daylight. Someone moved money that should not have been moved. Someone deleted files that should not have been deleted. Someone approved operations that should never have been approved. And when the moment came to answer, the only response was silence. We want to believe that the institutions designed to protect us are run by people who deserve our trust. But what happens when the documents are laid on the table, when the dates are read aloud, when the wire transfers are traced, and the person at the center of it all cannot offer a single credible explanation? What happens is exactly what happened in that hearing room. The air leaves. The noise stops. And all that remains is a man, a microphone, and the unbearable weight of 63 seconds that he will never get back. Because the cameras were rolling. The record was being made. And the silence spoke louder than any testimony ever could. That is what accountability looks like when it arrives uninvited. It sits patiently across the table, opens a thin manila folder, and asks a simple question. And then it waits. Because the truth is not in a hurry. The truth has nowhere else to be. And sooner or later, in the silence between the question and the answer, the truth makes itself known. Not because someone confessed, but because someone could not.